Hi, this is your host, Steve Schmidt, and this is episode 16 of the Magnetic Podcast, Season 1. Here's the truth. We've recorded 10 more episodes just in the past week. We've been catching up on what happened over the holidays and reaching out to some people. And when we reach out to people, there's really one purpose. Do we think that you have content that's worth talking about online? I could know you or not know you. I could see you in my feed or not see you. So Ben Albert is someone who I saw in my feed, and we reached out to Ben and said, Ben, we want to have you on the podcast. So Ben from Rochester, New York, welcome, my friend, to the Magnetic Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Fantastic, because I'm here with you, Steve, man. I'm excited for this. And people can turn this off right now if they hate me, but I hope that they're going to love me.
Yeah, well, they would have turned it off already because they hate me and they would not be listening to it. But we assume that we have something of value here. That's why we showed up. We're human beings. And today we get to talk about three things. So if these three things interest you, keep listening. Number one, we're going to dig into the world of what Ben does day to day. And when you own as an entrepreneur 3 or 4 companies, we get to talk about why someone would want to do that, especially at an early stage. Number two, we're going to talk about content, how Ben produces content, how he utilizes content. Most importantly, the question I ask is, how does that content convert to revenue? That's what people are showing up to listen to this for. And number three, Ben, we're going to talk a little bit about the future of content, particularly on YouTube and LinkedIn, as I see those as two of the powerful forces, at least the two that I follow the most, learn the most about. And what a disheartening experience it can be for someone if their goal is only to get likes and follows. And if they view it more as a journey and this continuum, I think it's just nothing but awesome. And so we're going to dig into that today too. So Ben, first and foremost, let's plant on this. You have, at the current time, you are working across, I just said 3 or 4 companies, but walk me through each one of those roles and why you're doing what you're doing and maybe where you're spending the most time. And here's the funny part. Is I asked him where you spend the most time. He goes, that's a great question. I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out. So Ben, tell us how you're still figuring it out and what are you doing on that journey?
I'm in the mud figuring it out every single day. At the end of the day, I like to be intentional with my time, and things that I'm really, really important to me is, are we sharing wisdom? Are we sharing content? My goal is to get the wisdom from the people who have it to the people who need it. I'm that bridge. And at the end of the day, I truly believe that if we die, which could happen in an hour, could go get in a car accident. If I die today, wisdom unshared is a freaking waste. It's a freaking loss. So I share everything, and I have a podcast. I have a marketing firm. I have a community. It's all around having conversations and authentically and transparently telling our stories, sharing our ideas, helping people get better. So I don't know what I spend time with half the time. I just have conversations with brilliant people, document it, share it on social media. Mastermind is undocumented. That's why you got to pay a little bit more to be a part of it. And then marketing firms helping other businesses do just that.
So you mentioned Mastermind. Sounds like you have a Mastermind course. Let's double click into that real quick. I see a lot of the Mastermind stuff right now happening, which is great. It's happened for a long time. My mom was a Mastermind back in 1982. They had newsletters they would ship out and they'd pay them money to be a part of this thing they got in the mail. I was like, that is wild. But tell me about your masterclass group. Why did you start it? How many members are in it? And what do you think the real secret to unlocking the secret in the masterclass is?
Yeah, I might be exposing myself because I'm a crappy marketer sometimes and I don't have a secret. Grow Getters Only, I called it a mastermind, but I actually prefer, sometimes I call it a community. And the word that I actually think I'm going to go forward with is collective, because a collective is a group of people with similar values trying to accomplish something with their collective wisdom, with their collective effort. So Grow Getters Only, really simple. It's a growth-oriented go-getter. You can be a go-getter, but you could also start running really fast in the wrong direction, and then you're not going to get to your destination. So it's go-getters that are running, but we're helping each other grow by going into the right direction. And we meet weekly. Currently, I have about 22 members, and we meet
Are they paid
weekly.
members? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, paid members.
Cool. Love that. 22. So they're showing up, paying, and extracting value from your community.
100%. And again, I might be a bad marketer, but this is how I set it up and it's working. I charge
Yeah.
$1 for 30 days. $1 for 30 days, 60 days money back guarantee. So you can pay and then just ask for your money back and leave. But the reason I do that is I want people to walk in the door, the proverbial door. We meet on Zoom. I want someone to
Hmm.
walk on the door and I want to give them an experience. I want the community, the collective to provide an experience. And guess what happens if you're not a good fit? You walk out the door and it only costs you $1 to spend 30 days with us. So that's how I've structured it. And we'll see what happens, man. It's brand new.
Well, you said you're not a great marketer. I would say you've got 22 people in the course. You must be somewhat good at that. Now, how did you get them into the course? How did you get them into the flywheel of interest?
Yeah, it's funny. And I say something like I might be a bad marketer because I want people to realize that I don't have some secret pill. I don't have some magic ticket. I'm literally learning as I go. I had a free networking event that still exists monthly. It's entirely free, an hour and a half,
Hmm.
where it was a networking event where we had two speakers and networking. Did that for about a year, little over a year before I ever launched the private community. And I kind of just launched the private community on a whim without a ton of like planning because people were asking for it. So I did
Yeah.
something that I loved, which is connecting people with a free event with fantastic speakers. A lot of them had been on my podcast, and I'd be like, not everyone I want to help listens to my podcast. Let's do a networking event. And then I waited for people to ask me for the
Yep.
community. That's when I launched the paid product. And I didn't follow a system. I just did it, sent out way more emails than I'm comfortable sending people, and had some people sign up.
I love that. The comment about sent way more SDRs or emails. I said SDR. No secret there as to maybe why I did. That is
Yeah.
my, if you call it where I grew up in the system, right? As was in that SDR footprint. Where did you get your start in your sales chops?
Yeah. Can I just riff for a second and then I'll answer that
Please
question?
do.
The,
Yeah,
the
absolutely,
best
man.
part, the best part and why what you do is so important is I had put on this free event for just over a year monthly. Always have two
Hmm.
speakers. This time I made myself the second speaker and I was quick. I announced the community. I was excited about it. I gave them their, $1 for 30 days. And guess what happened that evening? I had one registrant. One
Ah,
person signed up and was willing to give me $1 after 14 months of work of adding value. $1, one person. A
that's a
lot of people
start.
would have. A lot of people would have quit there.
Yeah.
Follow up, emails, follow up, emails. Not everybody that wanted to join could attend during that announcement. It was being SDR. It was reaching out. It was getting uncomfortable that
Yeah.
actually built it. And right now, I'm on a little bit of a plateau because it's easy to get comfortable and forget what you did to build it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also one of those things where I just remind people that, when you're filming content and what you're seeing out of that is there's a little bit of acting going on, meaning everybody's a human. And right before I turned the lights on with Ben, I did not sit here and I was not, radio DJing. I was balancing a P&L with some adjustments that came in because of an
Mm,
invoice that's not going to be paid on time. And that throws everything off. And my brain wants to go left, but I got to focus and stay straight
mm,
because if I go there, which is where I'm panicking to go, I'm not going to be able to show up and be present for Ben. And if I'm not living in the moment that I promised Ben an hour of his time is worth coming on here, then what the hell am I doing this for? And I think it's really easy to get sidetracked as an owner, for better or for worse, about the money side, meaning you're either figuring out what to do with it or you're figuring out how to get it. And I think that the biggest fallacy I've seen from the outside looking in, i.e., myself on the outside, is the first example, is that people who run their own business are only doing it to get rich and that they only want to get dollar signs at the end of it. Even those people who can coach people how to be $1 million salespeople aren't necessarily $1 million salespeople or don't want to live that life anymore. They just say, I just want to do this. So talk to me about that and this perception of You're gonna have all these gold plaques, hey, behind you. You got millions sitting in there. Like, I'm gonna go tan later, maybe take a walk. Like, I'm just an influencer. Maybe I'll do a TikTok. But the reality is what, Ben? What is the reality of the content game coming from the quote unquote the bottom up?
If you don't, it's such cliche advice, it's actually true. If you're not passionate, if you're not in alignment, if you don't
Yeah.
actually in the core want it to succeed, you're going to
Yes.
find ways to turn that temperature down, and you're going to
Yes.
actually get in your own way, and you're going to fail.
Hmm.
I don't even really care metric wise if I succeed, because never have I worked more hours per week and never have I been happier simultaneously. I love the content I get to create. I love the
Yeah.
people I meet. I love being an entrepreneur because I'm my own boss. And honestly, I
Hmm.
never fit in the mold. Some people are great entrepreneurs. They can come
Yep.
in, fit in the mold, kick butt. Some
Yep.
people, like my girlfriend, are fantastic in corporate, and she makes more money than me because she's fantastic in corporate.
There's
But
a
at the end
reason.
of the day, I was I was meant to do this, I guess. I don't even
Yeah.
know if that's true or not. I could change my mind in a week, Steve. I could throw in the
Yeah.
towel, go do something else, and I'm okay with that because what I do is I live with excitement. I create content that I love, and what that allows me to do is meet more people that are similar and like-minded and build
Hmm.
those relationships. I'm so agreeable. I still kind of have too much need to be liked. Like, I
Ah.
want to be liked, but I don't need to be liked. I used to need to be liked. And at the end of
Hmm.
the day, I stopped doing crap for other people. I started doing stuff that lit me up, and
Yeah.
the right people started
Hell yeah.
paying me to continue to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you find that part of yourself where you're at your core, you are living the essence of what you believe in versus, and I've done this before. I sold my
Mhm.
company to another company. A couple of years ago, I showed up and they really bought me just to do content for them, right? It turned out at the end of the day, they knew that that was driving millions and millions of dollars. And I did not like the content, right? I was
Mhm.
having to say different things. They would view it and say, well, I don't like it when you say that. Don't say that again. And I was sitting there going, well, I don't ever want to have to say, I don't ever have to answer to anybody like that again. It just, maybe it's the rebel in me. Maybe it's the no, I know content and I know SaaS companies, and this isn't just a throw in their face, but it's not real. I mean, that's a software product. You're coming there to put it on. And I've always had a problem working at software companies, not because I don't like software. I love software. I use so much damn software, it's coming out of my ears. I think that predictable model of, oh, well, we show up and now we're the person of value. Customers should pay us and be happy that they have us. I never really could work with that. That's why I end up back in services, slaving over, invoices and going, all right, let's get the shovel out again, shovel a little bit, build a path, shovel a little bit more, because I found that the true joy is in learning and then sharing what I'm learning with other people. And some people might go, well, I'm not your audience. I already knew that. I'd say, great. I'm really here to talk to those founders and early stage CEOs who go, I don't know what to do. And I sure as hell can't go drop 20K and hire some big fancy sales department. Is there something out there for me if I wanted to be a thought leader that could drive sales? And of course, we raise our hand and go, that's what we created ourselves for. And then 1,000 other people go, me too. And so I say, just because you're in services doesn't mean you don't have a lot of competition. When you think about competition, Ben, if you do it all, what do you think about? What are you racing against? Who are you trying to beat?
Man, I'm going to give all the advice that's counter what most people say. I literally do not lose any sleep over my competition. I
Good.
literally was listening to a Mark Cuban reel this morning where he was saying business is the ultimate sport. I think about
Yeah.
my competition daily. I think about what they're doing. And honestly, Mark Cuban is a more successful business owner. So don't listen to Ben. Listen to Mark. I might be unqualified. But part of why I feel that I'm happy and fulfilled is I'm not upset if Steve does well. I
Mm.
want Steve to do well. I want him to be magnetic because I know if Steve helps people, the world is a better place. And abundance, man, I think there's plenty on that plate to eat off of. Now, if
Yeah.
I was starving, my mindset might change. Some people need to be starving to make a change. But
Well, some
again,
people get caught in that mindset, Ben, long term,
mm,
right? Because that would be called a scarcity mindset, right?
right,
Always
right.
feeling like they're starving.
I've met people that are
You don't feel that way.
janitors. I've met people that are janitors, and for all intensive purposes, they could get picked on, but you have a single conversation with them. They freaking love
Hmm.
what they do. They have purpose in what they do. They understand the big picture of you're a janitor at a school. The school really doesn't operate without you being there. And
Yeah.
again, man, I'm sick of people telling others what is right or wrong or what they should do. Our brand, our content, what we do as a career, it's part of our DNA code. It is
Hmm.
part of our DNA. And it's not for someone else to tell you what your DNA, it's for you to figure out on your own.
Hmm. I think a lot of people figure themselves out much quicker when they're willing to produce content. I found that the feedback loops, some people say, well, I never watch myself. I said, well, I do because I want to get better, right? So if I'm
Mm,
saying something and speaking somewhere, I'm going to listen to that because I'm going to take notes and go, don't say that again. That didn't help anybody. Like that's too many words and might drive some people nuts. I said, well, I want to get better. I want to get better at sharing. I want to get better at being concise. I want to get better at conversations. And then I listen to podcast hosts who I like. And I say, man, the art of really good content, at least in podcasts, to me, and I'm not saying B2B specifically, actually, I'm quite the contrary. B2B podcasts mostly suck right now. They're nowhere near where they need to be or where they're going, which is fun. But Smartless, I was re-listening to a lot of the Smartless episodes. These guys are brilliant. Sean Hayes, Jason Bateman. I always forget the name of the third guy. He was the funny guy from. See, exactly. So I was listening to these episodes this morning, going, man, I'm entertained. They're not sharing anything other than talking. They just knew how to really ask good questions to each other. And that would strike up conversation where I'm like, why am I listening to this person I don't know talk about their sister in Wisconsin?
mm,
And I'm somewhat interested. That's that magnetic piece where I go, well, that's because they're so alive, they're so in the moment.
mm.
And if they were distracted and checking their phone too, you wouldn't want to listen to it. You'd say, well, there's not a lot of value here. They're all in. I mean, they're all fucking in. They're all in. They're touring around on buses. They're all millionaires. They're all actors, but they all had one story in common. And they all drove to LA to start their acting careers with $0 in their pocket, some shitty car, going, this has got to work out. Tell me about entrepreneurs and maybe what your knowledge is or any firsthand experience when they've got to make it or it's not going to work out. Because to me, some would say that's unhealthy in business. I would say that's every fucking entrepreneur I know. I don't know a lot of entrepreneurs who have a bunch of millions sitting in their pockets just going, oh, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I don't know. I have found that it needs to be painful to actually want to make a change. And sometimes it doesn't just have to be painful. It has to be excruciating pain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I was in excruciating pain, but I was taking a Xanax every Monday morning,
Oof.
self-prescribed, doctor never come handcuff me, guys. Taking a
Yeah.
Xanax every Monday morning, hungover, just trying to get through my Monday meetings at corporate. And I was not performing well. I'm going to own this. I was
Mm-hmm.
not performing well. And one of the things my CEO did is he would like mock fire me. I thought I was getting fired, but he'd fire me in front of a bunch of people. I'd get in my car, like cry a little bit, like try to think like what's happening next. And then he'd call me and be like, I was just trying to prove a point, Ben, come back in. And it actually, what's funny is the reason I don't think I was in excruciating pain yet. And if I was, it would have even been better. What's funny is the pandemic hit and I got let go from that role. And what a blessing that was because
Yeah.
I would have stayed into it. I would have stayed there if I didn't get let go. But I was forced into entrepreneurship. And I think the wisest people aren't forced. The wisest people force themselves. But most of us have to get forced to make a change. So if the wisest people don't have to be forced, ask yourself that question. What am I not doing? And am I going to wait until I have cancer to look at my health? Or
No.
am I going to force myself today to avoid what could be coming if I don't make a change?
That's so hard for people to do.
It's the
There's a lot of
hardest.
things you said that resonated to me. I mean, I wish it didn't take me hurting myself and other people to go to Hazelden Betty Ford 6 years ago, going up there next week to speak to them in the auditorium. I'm so blessed to be able to revisit that little magical place where I tore my soul in shreds and everybody around me was just like, finally. And I was like, whoa, like, and, or why did it take like not really connecting with, oh, it's not just alcohol, it's everything else in life too. And emotional sobriety was really the only way out. And then finding out last year after a terrible business transaction that I divorced my best friend and wife. And then, oh, that's even worse. And then you sit there and look in the mirror, what the fuck am I doing? Like, and then for me, it gave me a chance to say, you know what? There is certainly always things to be learned. There's also times to say, what is the part of me that's missing that doesn't want to be, call it preventative? And I had to look back to my own life. And in my 20s, I thought I was invincible. 30s still felt pretty invincible. All of a sudden, in my 40s, I started getting my ass kicked. I paid hard for those 20 years of really feeling like life is easy.
Yeah.
You just make money, you go out, you get canned, you do some drugs, and you feel bad about it, but it's going to be okay. And no amount of money, no amount of anything could take care of anything that was the hole inside of me. I still work on that hole every day because it doesn't go away. Some days I do fill it with this. I'll be honest with you. I have to be careful to not fill it with likes, approvals, deal wins, or else I get miserable really quickly. The art of comparison, Ben. Let's talk about that. How do you avoid comparing yourself to other people when ultimately you're in the game of teaching people how to win against other people?
These are such big, profound questions.
That's the Magnetic Podcast. We don't fuck around, man.
The easiest answer I have is, do you actually know what it's like to be that person?
Yeah.
And if so, and you like what they're doing, that's amazing. You just need to realize that you're not there yet. They're not any better than you. They're just farther along than you. And those are the cases where you found a true coach, a true mentor, a true person that don't join their cult or do everything they say, but extract as much wisdom from them as possible and find as many of those people as possible. Those are the gems.
Yeah.
A lot of people are kind of just fake. And you see the car, you see the haircut, you see the watch, you see the girlfriend, and they're not telling you that their father gave them that car, or even worse, they rented that car. They're not telling you that that girlfriend's cheating on them and only with them because of this image of money. They're not telling you that they truly are taking years off their life because they hate what they're doing, because eventually they realize they're scamming people. They're not telling you that. But you're seeing what, and this is where I'm old enough that I'm like over this shit. Because when you're 18 to 22, when you're 18 to 22 to 25, when you're a young male, this stuff is really persuasive and really compelling. And then you go and you spend money on a bunch of things that don't help you.
Are you talking Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, like that whole crowd of just like sucked America's men into the internet? It's interesting to me. I'm not saying it's a bad. Well, I will wait. I will reserve my opinion on it and just say, to your point, yes, 18 to 25-year-old men love that shit.
I'm not even going to talk too much crap about Tate or Peterson, because I actually think both of them are smarter than they get credit for sometimes.
Oh, sure.
But if you go YouTube CoffeeZilla, he does a great job making a list for you. CoffeeZilla is a YouTuber. He exposes scammers. It's the true scammers. So Tate was a professional fighter. And Peterson is a high-level professor. You can agree or disagree with them. At least they're smart. There's a lot of 18, 19-year-olds pretending like they know how to trade stocks, scamming a bunch of people. Why are they selling this crappy, cheap course if they're such a good stock trader? There's so many of those people out there. Those are the real toxic people, the ones that have not accomplished anything
Yeah.
and are teaching you how to accomplish something they didn't do. My short answer here is if I'm going to hire someone with my money or my time's valuable. If I'm going to spend time with them, I want to know that they've actually done what I'm trying to accomplish, or else it's a waste of time. They're just full of shit.
Hmm. You know, it's interesting to go back and we even look in this world of sales where let's just name somebody and pick on him in a good way. I can't really
Cool.
pick on somebody who's famous. Jordan Belfort, right? They made a movie about
Yeah.
him. Wolf of Wall Street, epic scene. Leo Cap just smashed that movie, man. I loved it in terms of his performance. When he was crawling from the nightclub and he was on the drugs, I was like, well,
Yeah.
takes one to know one, but that's pretty good. Leo's obviously been through that in real life. I would think. I mean, I was like, that was really real. Now, speaking of college, but that same Jordan Belfort, who he's back there training salespeople,
Yeah.
and I believe anybody gets a second chance, third chance. I believe in unlimited chances because a chance is always a chance. I always say you only get a second chance. I'm like, well, with you, but Jordan Belfort's gonna get as many chances as people have the appetite to risk that line of, call it, where we all go, I want to get better. And we go, well, I want to get better, but I don't want to scam people. And there's this fine line in sales where I've always ridden it where I go, man, kind of with the addiction thing, right? This charm and charisma to win people over, like that works well in sales. When you're selling a lighter product, you start to sell a 6-figure product. You can't be full of shit. You can't be full of fluff. You have to actually be somebody who knows the space, knows the product, understands the consequence of if this doesn't go well, they might not pay the price, but it's not going to be good. It's having the ability to say, you know what? I'm not going to push on this deal. I'm not going to tell them not to buy it because I think a lot of people say, oh, I tell people don't buy it. No one really says that. I think what they do is they don't pursue that deal. And I'd love to ask you the question because I feel like you can't cheat age. Can't cheat age, can't cheat death. You can try and cheat taxes. You end up in jail with Jordan Belfort. He's out now, but I believe he had to serve some time. Sorry, Jordan. I doubt you're listening, but if you are, we can fight it out afterwards. I do think you're a credible sales trainer. But getting to this is, how do you cheat age? How do you, when you're 22, say, no, I am credible. No, I do have life experience. Buy my stuff, right? Because I see a lot of these people on social media and a lot of, when I talk to people and tell them what I do, they go, oh, yeah. And I said, no, not the Instagram stuff where, that's not what we're doing. We're not doing that. And I think they feel scammed by it, but they're consuming it too. And so talk to me about the mindset of a 22-year-old who really may be mature and developed, but hasn't had life behind them to really understand a lot of the things you and I are just kind of yakking about here.
Yeah. First off, I'd recommend sell someone else's stuff. There's no shame in that. If Jordan Belfort's I don't know if he's a good, Jordan Belfort's tonality is brilliant. His ethics are not. So I'm going to take him out as the example. Let's use Alex Hormozi.
Yeah.
Because I don't have much poor things to say about the guy. I think he's incredible. If I was young and I learned Alex Hormozi's model by the age of 20, so by the age of 23, I understand the foundation of marketing at a higher level than 90% of marketers. Maybe I can start using his model to sell my own stuff, but maybe I just go work for Alex. At the end of the day, there's two ways we can take this. We can sell someone else's stuff if we feel like we're not ready to sell our own stuff just yet. And if we know it works, and if we can learn from them, we're going to get all the skills we need to sell our own stuff, just selling their stuff. And then the other way to take it is if I'm 22, maybe I'm not pretending like I have 80 years of knowledge, but I do have the knowledge that the 18-year-old doesn't have. And if I started young, and if I started as an intern from my father's company where I was just sweeping the floors at the age of 12, I have 10 years of experience at 22.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to pretend I'm someone I'm not. But I'd say at the age of 12, I started sweeping floors at my father's company. And by a very young age, I learned this. and I thought I had learned it, but I actually made the same mistake time and time and time again. And if I had known this now by the age of 22, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have taken me 10 years to get here. I could have got here by your age, 18. I'm just making this crap up. So they're not selling to the 35-year-old millionaire. They're
Yeah.
selling to the person that's only a step behind them. You don't have to be selling to someone in front of you. Just sell to the person a step behind you. But authentically, my opinion is don't pretend to be someone you're not. Just
Yeah.
I know what it takes to get from here to here, and you can take another 5 years, or you can follow what I have for you, and it'll take
Mm.
5 months. Caveat, you're going to have to put in the work for 5 months. But if so, I can promise you don't have to waste 5 years like I did. That's all you got to do.
So you're the personal trainer. They do the work. You're saying I have the system. You are the student. You're going to pay me, and then walk me through that service, because it sounds to me like you maybe have a really good framework to get people to build communities, to get into a content production pattern, and you're probably coaching them along and giving them great resources. Am I far off?
What I just was saying was me pretending to be a 22-year-old, just to confirm
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. No, I was just saying in your world today, pardon me,
Yeah.
if someone's paying you and you are going to make them better, there is risk inherently on their behalf, right? There's risk that they're going to pay you, use your resources, and it won't work out. What does that look like today? Because I just say it might not work out because same with everybody, right? I could pay Chris Walker $10K a month to mentor me. It doesn't mean that anything good is going to happen. He'll show up, I'll show up, and it depends on what happens, And so I'd still have to go do something with the knowledge that he just gave me. And he's given me a shitload of knowledge the past 5 years on LinkedIn for free. So thank you, Chris Walker, again.
Yeah.
Somebody who constantly inspires me, But walk me through this. Walk me through what it is you offer, your pitch. I'm not asking you to pitch people. I really want to find the hole in your pitch. I mean, I think it's fun to talk about. And then what is the value they're hoping to get when they work with you?
Sure. So there's a lot there. I don't charge per hour. I'm not a coach. I'm not a consultant. I'm not a personal trainer. I actually have a personal trainer. I pay him good for his time because he gets me to the next level. But that's not
Yeah.
what I do. The core of what I do is service-based online marketing.
Sure.
I'm an online marketer. That's where I
Performance
make the
marketing?
money. What's that?
Would that be considered performance marketing? Like you're going to go out, market for them, they're going to pay you a fee. And is there then that performance aspect where the better it does, the more your compensation would increase?
No. It's a great model though, especially if you're just getting started.
Yeah.
You can if you have a revenue driver, that's brilliant. No, that's not how I do it. I think it's a fantastic model. They pay me and I do what I say I'm going to do in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah.
But I don't
Good.
get a commission. I don't have a rev share, which would actually be nice
Yeah.
because in a lot of cases I'd make more money. But
I think there's something to the rev share component, that the idea, and this is something we built in at Magnetic here, is where I charge a flat fee. And if that customer wants a discount, that's when I say no, unless you're willing to let me bolt into your CRM, provide attribution, implement lead forensics, get the whole CRM baked out. So I know that if those people are coming back in, that I'm going to get tagged as the, we went out and found them, if you will. And two of those companies said yes. And now I would say I can't build a business around that. There's a lot of unpredictability there, right? It's kind of like you'd be like a sales rep as a business. Like, well, I can pay my bills, but I hope and that's a great model, but I'm also one person, right? So we went out for this company and helped them generate roughly 1.3 million, right? At 12%, that's pretty good. And I say, cool, I want more of those 12%. And so I said, conceptually, if I had to start my business over again, I'd do it this way. I'd say 20K a month, complete outsourced sales and marketing, fractional CRO, CMO baked into one person. I got a team of 6 to 7 people behind me. We meet once a week for an hour. We provide a lot of strategy, a little bit of execution, but enough execution to move the needle. Because what I found is that without their skin in the game, no matter how good you are at service providing for them, it's kind of hard when you're not in the company, when they just show up to the meeting and go, yeah, oh, great. What are we going to do this week? You're like, man, I need you to listen. I cannot respond to your DMs for you. You have 74 in your queue.
Mm.
Yeah, but they're kind of not interested. They said maybe, well, yes, now it's your job to go develop that as the CEO, as the founder, to say, I know it's probably not the right time now. That's totally cool. Like, let's stay connected instead of just no response. Because now you pitched them, they're in your feed, you connected with them. They said maybe not right now, you didn't respond to them. I'm right away. I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Not feeling super great about this relationship. I feel like we went on the date. You said, I want to go all the way. I said, not quite. You left. I'm still here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the world of DMs now, where my company, and this is, I guess, pitching on accident, is we teach people don't offer anything to them. Start a conversation. That is it. Like, and the template brings relevance, and we don't have time to personalize. So we go hyper relevant, niche down, and that's where these $1 million deals start, is in the DMs, man. And it's not in the pitching. It's not in the here's my calendar link. It's, hey, thanks for connecting. Look forward to seeing you in my feed. They see you in the feed. That's going to provide proof. You hook back 4 or 6 months later, say, hey, how are you doing? We have a free virtual training coming up for masterclass on negotiation. Would you like 2 free tickets? Sure. Now they have a product-led growth pipeline. That's going to close, I'm guessing 54% on 3.8 million of pipe. Like, that was a good idea. That was a good idea to say, that's your new product-led growth. Start a podcast, give them 2 tickets for showing up. Let them use it for the team only if they want to. And I'd say, man, you and I go, well, why doesn't every company do that? Well, there's a lot of ways to solve revenue problems, Ben. That's one way. What is, in your opinion, the biggest opportunity out there for companies, small companies, call it 1 to 10 million, to start getting revenue in places that they aren't with content? What is the low-hanging fruit opportunity for them?
Revenue in places they aren't using content.
Yeah. So let's say I'm not on YouTube. Is it to spin up a YouTube channel? Is it to go start a TikTok? Like, there's so much out there. And you can't answer depends. Sorry. Like, I know it depends. Mm-hmm. But if you were to say, hey, I don't know what industry they're in. I don't know if they're in real estate or manufacturing, or if they're running for a politician. I'm going to say, well, I would go here.
Yeah. I think Alex Hormozi uses this term, but I'm going to go with it. But lead getters is a fantastic way to put it. You want people that are getting leads for you. How do you find people that are getting leads for you? The first and most important thing that a lot of people forget about is you need to be worthy to be talked about. A lot of people are talking about content. A lot of people are talking about marketing, but their product stinks. If you have a good product, a good service, a good solution, or even if your product's average, but you make people feel seen, you over-deliver on their expectations, you're a great human being that they like to work with, they can become lead getters for you. Yeah. Now, there's lots of ways to get lead getters. You can literally incentivize them, but you had mentioned content in any business. I'm going to assume, we're going to make one assumption. Once in a while, you get on Zoom with, we're going to do 2 ways. We'll do in person and Zoom. If you get on Zoom once in a while with your clients for quarterly meetings, to renew their contract, you show them the stats, you show them the progress, and they're like, Steve, thank you so much, man. You're doing great stuff. Yeah. You're going to leave that call feeling great. There's one thing you missed. You have them in there. Well, I guess you're in person on Zoom. I can't talk today, my friend. You got them there on Zoom. They're on camera. They're excited. They're on, let's call it an emotional high. Yeah. When's the best time to go in for a kiss on a first date? It's on an emotional high. It's not when you're drunk and you can barely even get out of the car. You ask on an emotional high. So they're already on video. Ask them for a testimonial. What do you think will happen? Are they going to say yes? So if you get that video testimonial that you asked on the spot on an emotional high, You have them talking to a camera that AI can never replicate ethically. That's them talking to a camera in their own words, in their own voice, with their own stutters, with their own insecurities, talking about how you got them from A to B. And then you can content repurpose the heck out of that. You can turn it into a graphic. You can use the audio. You can use the video. You can add that to your sales sheets. You can use their words in your stories. And all you did is ask them for it on video during an emotional high. And then that's content in itself. And guess what happens when Ben leaves a review for Steve? He wouldn't have done it if Steve didn't drive value. And I'm like, you know what? I already did this on video. I might as well recommend to a couple different friends.
Yeah.
Like Steve could say, Ben, dude, thank you for saying this. I'm not trying to like overstep my boundary here, but if you know anyone that had a similar concern to that and still has it, I'd love to see if I can help them.
Yeah.
Is anyone you know that I think I could possibly help? You ask questions like that, and then they start making introductions for you. Very sales driven, but you have content. And I said I'll quickly do in person. If you're in person, let's use a very simple business. Let's say you do landscaping.
Yep.
You just did landscaping, curb appeal. It looks gorgeous. They're taking a picture of their lawn and their bushes because it's never looked that nice. Why don't you have a tablet in your hand that they can leave you a review on the spot?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you have the capacity to text them on the spot their Google link where they can leave a review? And then what are you going to do with that review? You're going to screenshot it. You have social media content. You're going to use that in your sell sheets. And you're going to do that time and time again when you're not doing any more jobs than the landscaper down the road, but you have 10x the amount of reviews as the landscaper down the road simply because you're asking on the spot during an emotional high. So I'm on a soapbox. It's really that simple. People are like, I don't know what content to create. You don't even have to create content. You let your success stories create the content for you.
I think it's probably the biggest miss is there's this line between I have to create content and, oh, I don't want to be an influencer. I would say number one, forget the name influencer because that you're not there right now. So don't even think about what you don't want to be. That's like me saying I don't want to be an NBA player. Like, good. That it doesn't want to be me either, apparently. Also, it's very different. If I'm Alex Hormozi, I can put a Band-Aid on my nose and get up and make a video and make a bunch of money. Most people can't do that. And I think there's also this gap where we go, well, then it's the other side that says, well, why would I even try? And I go, I don't know. Why does anybody try anything? And I don't do it. I'm lying if I said I don't look at kind of how I rank against maybe the competition or what they're doing. I do it less and less with time. I just don't give a fuck. I don't, pardon my French, I guess I can swear on my own podcast. I don't give two shits. I care about them now. I go, well, I might say, well, that content's not great or that's inaccurate. But I also realize that being a creator now for 3 years that I've had that said about me enough times to hear it where, that kind of hurts. And you hear these things and people say this and you go, man, I'm a person too. Like I got 4 kids, I got all this good things. Like I told you this story, Ben, about how the darker side of this was, LinkedIn made my lead gen agency a lot of money. No profit. We all made money, right? But nothing above the zero line, unfortunately. $5 million a year. 12 months we were in business. We were on pace for $5 million the next year. Sold the company to a SaaS company. They were getting VC funding. Whoops. No, they really weren't. Turned out to be, let's just say, a semi-fraudulent deal. Learned a lot from that, but got burned. Like here I am a year later going, I am now back with my ex-wife and we're dating and just taking it slow. Right. And she came over today. We went and walked the dog and she's like, what are you gonna do? I said, I'm going to do 3 podcasts. And I got about 3 hours of focus work. And then I've got 2 hours of data research. She's like, are you having fun? I'm like, today's not that fun. I'll tell you why. Because it started with the $15K invoice that was supposed to be paid. Then they said net 60 and this other customer was supposed to pay, with a discount 3 months up front. They said 1 month. I said, so I'm just constantly reminded that I don't want to be a fucking CFO.
Sure.
And I said, but I realize that is now my opportunity is to say, if I'm given the gift of owning my own company and helping other people, whether it's employing somebody else to do that and then sticking with that, or really getting good at managing cash, that's the biggest obstacle in front of me, not the next 60-second YouTube video. So guess what I'm watching on YouTube, Ben? All finance shit for founders. Like, how do you get good at that? How do you get better at it? Hiring a coach in there. It's not hiring a coach to level me up in content. Not because I don't need to get better, just because I know that if I can't balance the books for the company and keep that consistent and not spend more than we make, it doesn't have a business. We don't have a business. And I think a lot about what you talked about. I don't want to wait to get cancer. I might get it tomorrow. Unfortunately, a lot of people find out they can't control it. I don't want it either. But I also don't want to do the things in life where I go, man, if I just didn't do that, that wouldn't have happened. Because I've certainly realized there's consequences in life. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the bigger they are. Why? Because you've just lived longer. You have more to lose, less to gain. And those people kind of fall off in life. What I learned through that opportunity, Ben, was a lot of those people that I lost during that transaction that said this about me. I looked back now and I go, oh, well, they weren't really my friend anyways. They weren't really someone who cared about me or I cared about them. Why does it matter? That what matters to me was the lesson that I learned, which was it's hard to be a founder. It's hard to be a founder and create content. It's hard to be a founder and make revenue. And I said, why not help people do the thing I did to build our company? And so that's where call it the happy zone comes now. And I get to have people like you, Ben, come on and talk about what you get to do. And specifically, it sounds like you are having one kick-ass time doing it. And I think that's the takeaway for me today is if you're as positive about what you're doing as you seem on this podcast, you're going to light up working with other people. If I'm someone out there and I'm like, hey, I like Ben, I like what he said, I think he could probably help me. How can you help me and how can they get a hold of you?
Well, first off, I love when you share because you're preaching to the choir. I'm with you, man. I love your passion. I love your resilience. I love your show. So that answers the question you just asked. I love this show. The listener is only here because of you. There will be a small number of people from my email or social media posts that came here, and they already know I love them. But most of the people here are your listeners. So the best way to help Ben is to help Steve so he can help more Bens. So like this shit, subscribe to this show, hit 5 stars. All of that takes 2 seconds, and you can do it while I'm rambling right now. If you really want brownie points, leave a review. If you really want extra brownie points, take a screenshot of that review and send it to Steve. It's so easy to get someone's attention if you just leave a review, send a screenshot, and send it to them. You'll immediately get their attention.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like, I'm easy, man. Real business connections. There's a business, there's a podcast. You type in the words real business connections. After you do everything I just said, you type that in wherever you found this. I'll come up. It's not impossible. I failed you. If you type it into Google, it is fail proof. Real
That's
business
really good
connections.
that you own that and that comes up first.
It's not that common. Yeah. Real business connections, Google.
Well, it sounds to me like if someone's out there and they want to be able to make connections, form, call it relationships, build communities, which certainly is a way to, I mean, that's all we're doing online is these are online communities, right? We're in one virtual neighborhood. And I'd say there's a lot of people trying to get up on the mountain and shout. Don't worry about that. Just go to door to door, one at a time. Hi, my name's Steve.
My favorite people are the people that want something positive to go to sleep to because they put on my podcast. I've been told it's very comforting to go to sleep to. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I love it because then the watch time and the listen time is 100% every time they do it. So please go to sleep to this show.
I've done this before. When I was on my journey, and I do share this a little bit openly, you know, when I realized I was like, oh, I want my ex-wife back. Of course, I Googled it and I was like, I bet you nobody's ever wanted to get back together with their ex-wife. Nobody does that. Oh, no, there's 1,000 coaches out there on YouTube. How to win your ex-wife back. And I was like, oh, shit. It's like I got lost in the content sea storm. And then I found that one person who it wasn't about, you know, this or that. It was really about like, hey, man, I fucked up. Like this is my best friend. You know, it's not about like trying to be all macho and masculine. And it's really like, how do you position yourself even? How do you even have the first conversation? And the second one and the third one. Oh, and you have kids and, oh, you got divorced. That's kind of final, right? And so just listening to that, I'd fall asleep to it because I'd sit there and go, man,
Mm.
like I would listen to probably 12 hours a day of that. Now at 1.5x speed in the morning, 4:30 to 7, I couldn't get enough of it. And I wrote a letter to the guy the other day. I said, you changed my life and my kids' life and a lot of
Wow.
people's life. And he's like, I got to tell you, Steve, I wish this happened more often. I don't
Yeah.
control the outcome. It's very hard to do. He goes, you followed it to a T. You did everything we said, which was not manipulating anybody. It was just, hey, go slow, using things like ChatGPT to type it in and get unbiased feedback about things instead of your emotions. Like these little hints where I was like, you just changed the day for me and everybody else. And I said, that's the beauty of content creation to me is whether or not he was B2B or B2C. I paid him a total of $20 in a tip on a YouTube live. That's the only thing I had to pay because he kept doing it for free. He gets people who pay him $1,000 a month. And he's like, I always have enough, never too many, never too little. And I show up and do a YouTube live once a week. That's all I do. And then I have micro videos and shorts, and he's really organized. That's how he's competitive. But really, it was the fact that he knows he's different than everybody else. And he says specifically, this is not who I am. I do not go with tactics. I do not teach you manipulation. I do not. And I was like, this is my guy. And I found myself in that journey. And Ben, I love the idea that people can be in a journey, find you based off of keywords, based off of content, and then get reeled into your world. Their life gets better. And they did not know you till their Ethernet circuit met yours in the light speed quadrant of the world. And so, Ben, thank you for being a positive light on this show. I'm going to say, I'd love to leave on a positive note. We like to ask one very dark question at the end here.
Ooh.
If you could remove one part of yourself, what would it be and why?
Remove one part of myself?
Yeah, not a physical part of your body.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, that's a tough. I got to cut off a limb, Steve? What's going on here?
Yeah, you got to remove something about yourself that you would maybe view as a defect, a character defect.
I got to listen to what other people say.
Lust for money, never enough.
I want to give like a good piffy answer that's perfect and would make a great reel, and it's all
don't
insightful.
do that. Just be real.
I want to do that. Why am I trying to change myself?
I don't think.
What's the purpose of shutting myself to death? I should have done this. I should be more kind. Like, I'm not worried about changing who I'm. It's a constant state of evolution and becoming. I'm not. There's a lot of things I've done. There's a lot of things that I don't agree with from the past, but I learned a ton from it.
Yeah.
I learned a ton from it. So I don't know, man. If anything, I guess I could answer your question with if I could remove a part of myself, it would be, it's so funny. I almost wanted to say like my indecisiveness or my curiosity, but that's exactly why I'm successful. Why am I trying to remove stuff?
I would remove my obsession with gummy bears. Mine's pretty simple. Like, I don't want to make
of yourself though.
Sure, it's a part of my life. Yours could be anything from like I'd love to remove my. And it's a fun question. It does catch people off guard, but I've heard it asked before, and it makes you sit and think and go, well, if I had to, it would be. And I eat pretty healthy except for the freaking gummy bears, and I don't think those are very good for me. So like that little thing that thinks those are okay, I want to remove that part of myself because I know they're not good for me, right? And so like I know
bears aren't you though. You could just have that
Totally.
done in a second. I'll give you a good answer. I would remove the gingivitis because let me talk through this for a second. I brush my teeth and floss. I floss once a day. I brush my teeth twice a day. But when I was younger, I don't know what my dad was doing, but he barely had any teeth. Yeah. I never brushed my teeth. And it wasn't until I could taste the grossness. I was dating girls, kissing people, and just not brushing my teeth. It's disgusting.
Oof.
And that decision when I was younger to not brush and not do the 2 minutes required to maintain yourself has had a decade of repercussions.
There you go.
Just by not taking 2 minutes a day. And my question for the listener is, what is your 2 minutes a day? If I had just brushed my teeth 2 minutes a day, I would not have issue.
Yeah.
But since I chose not to do it for too long, now I have issues. And it sucks. It's embarrassing. That's how you don't get your
Mm.
ex-wife back. Spit blood in the
Yeah.
sink. You look silly.
Well, I like the fact that you planted that for everybody. So as we leave, everybody think about that question for Ben. And when you get an answer, go ahead and ping Ben. Where can they find you easiest, Ben? On social, on the web?
You can type in Real Business Connections. I'm on most social platforms. I am most active on LinkedIn.
There
I
we go.
check LinkedIn more than my text messages. So if you have LinkedIn, message me there. I guarantee I'll respond. But you can just Google Real Business Connections, Google me, and reach out wherever you're comfortable.
Ben, thank you. I'm about ready to pee my pants, so we are going to end this podcast.
Let's
and of
go.
course, on a good note of peeing your pants, Ben. Thank you so much. I'm Steve. This is Ben Albert. Thanks for listening to the Magnetic Podcast.